massive turnout of our swing vote of over 87 million poor and low-wealth people in this country. It's time out for foolishness. We can't get stuck arguing about which candidate performs better on TV. Oh, no. We can't get stuck on which candidate can give the best insults. Oh, no. We can't get stuck on what color a candidate's hair is. Oh, no. We can't get stuck on who's touched what prostitute or what porn star. Otherwise, we got to go all the way back in history and come back again. No. And we can't get stuck on who has a slight disability or not. Because in my tradition, Moses stuttered, but he brought down Pharaoh. Jeremiah had depression, but he stood up for justice. Jesus was acquainted with sorrow. Harriet Tubman had epilepsy. Folk are getting caught up on how a candidate walks. Well, let me tell you, I have trouble walking, but I know how to walk toward justice. President Roosevelt did more than any president of this nation, and he couldn't walk at all. So we say to the media, this election is not about foolish things. It's about whether we will have a democracy. And it is not about one candidate. It is about the people mobilizing and organizing. And you will not drive us to despair. Because our agenda is not about left or right anyway. It's about right versus wrong. Our call is neither conservative nor liberal. It's a call to higher ground where everybody belongs. We must rise until living wages lift us to higher ground. We must rise until health care for all lifts us to higher ground. We must rise until a commitment to fight climate catastrophe will lead us to higher ground. We must rise until there is equal protection of women for their bodies and their wages. We've got to rise until we stop our warring madness and find a way to build up the world rather than blow up the world. Like the prophet Moses, honored by Jews, Muslims, and Christians, led the people out of bondage of Egypt, it's time to rise. Like the dry bones in the valley of Ezekiel's vision, we've got to rise. Like the ancient vision of the prophet, when the stones that the builders rejected became the chief cornerstone of a new reality. We have got to rise. Like Rosa Parks rose. Like a young Muslim cleric Malcolm rose when he embraced the universal vision of human rights. We've got to rise like Sister Dorothy Day rose when she declared a revolution of the heart. We have to rise like Mother Ella Baker rose when she said, give light to the people and they will find their way. We have to rise like our Latino brother Cesar Chavez rose and said, we're not going to work anymore until you pay us what we deserve. In every generation, there comes a time that everyday people have to rise and take the nation higher. Poor people make up 30% of the electorate now, 40% in every so-called swing state, battleground state. Poor people and low-wage workers are the largest swing vote in the country. Every state where the margin of victory was within 3%, poor and low-wage voters make up over 43% of the electorate. 1/3 of all poor and low-wage people live in the South. 60% of Republicans in Mississippi now want health care, even though the government blocks it. Because the pandemic has taught us that if you get sick, the disease doesn't kill a Democrat or a Republican, it just kills you dead. These elections are about policies. Say policies. Policies like if you don't have a living wage and you can't pay your light bill, we're all black in the dark. If you can't hardly afford food, your children's stomachs don't growl South, they don't growl North, they don't growl Republican, they don't growl black, they don't growl white, they don't growl Asian, they growl hurt. Did you know in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, the total vote that determined the election for president in those states in North Carolina was 178,000. But in those same states, over 6 million poor and low-wage voters did not vote. And the number one reason they did not vote is they said nobody talked to them. Well, there comes a time when people don't talk to you. You got to make them talk to you. And that's why today, we've decided to raise up thousands of activists across this country to touch 15 million poor and low-wage voters across this country that are infrequent voters. Today, we will be delivering a statement to every network to say we don't care what kind of debate you have. If you don't have a debate that asks candidates where they stand on living wages and labor and health care, that's the failure. And the rest of our 17-point agenda. And we're going to deliver to every convention, Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, and say that if you want these votes, then you have to talk to us. Not about what you've done, but what you're going to do in the days to come, because our votes must rise. And so finally, my brothers and sisters, this is why we are Fusion Movement. Look around. This is why we are black, rising. We are white, rising. We are Native, rising. We are Asian, rising. We are Latino, rising. We are gay, rising. We are straight, rising. We are trans, rising. We are people of faith, rising. We are people who believe in the moral arc of the universe, and we are rising because what we have in common is that we've got power to take this nation to higher ground. We are rising for a better tomorrow, and it's our time. We are rising to shift the course of tomorrow. I have a friend that taught me that her father said, God may not do it today, but he'll surely do it tomorrow. We are God's tomorrow. And tomorrow starts right now. Now, at the end of that song, Mabel Staples said, that's why, Liz, we cry power. That's why we cry power. We cry power because everybody has a right to vote. And everybody has a right to live. And it's time to fulfill an agenda of love and hope and justice and truth-telling. It's time to rise. You are not just voters. You are leaders. You have been elected by history. You've been elected by what you've been through. Every tear, every hurt, every pain, every struggle, every tension, that gives you credibility to say to this nation, we cry power. Fear is too low down for a nation. Division is too low down for a nation. Babies starving is too low down for a nation. Workers not having a place to live is too low down for a nation. Having a recovery that leaves people still poor is too low down. It's beneath the call of God, and we cry power. God says, blessed are the poor. We cry power. God says, loose the chains of injustice. We cry power. God said the laborer is worth his hire. We cry power. God says, treat the least of these right. We cry power. And I stop by to tell you that the extremists don't have enough political power to shut us down. They can't vote us away. They can't insult us away. They can't scare us away. They don't have enough money to buy us away. Somebody turn to your neighbor and say like Sheila, say, I'm here and I ain't going nowhere. And we've got power. Power. Our agenda has power. Our numbers have power. Our unity has power. We cry power. Nonviolent power. Justice power. Mobilizing power. Voting power. Organizing power. Power to make a difference. Power to make changes. Power to overcome the lies. Power to make a new society. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, we've got power. 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 Until one day we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Power. Power. Power to rise. Power to stand. Power. Power. Power.